Ninja Gaiden Wounded Falcon is a fan fiction and a passion project. I want to make these videos in homage to one of the greatest industries in recent history and to my personal favorite hobby, and dare I say it, obsession. Ninja Gaiden has a style and flow all its own and is constantly unrivaled by other action games, though I find that some things are most certainly lacking in the series, and I wish to give Tecmo Koei and Team Ninja my personal feelings and thoughts on mechanics and design that ought to come with the next iteration in the series. Because Ninja Gaiden, the intellectual property, does not belong to me, I formally admit that I relinquish any legal binding to these ideas by posting them on the internet in this form and by using previously established IPs. It's about the ideas and sharing them with the people who love Ninja Gaiden, even the creators themselves. The game can be played in single-player and online cooperative modes. During the period before the story starts, the player can choose their player character's appearance and gender. For the purposes of the talkthrough, Mako and Kazunai will be referred to as female. The names, voices, demeanor, personalities of the characters are determined in the story for narrative purposes, but superfluous choices like skin shade and hair color are up to the player. For the purposes of the narrative throughout the game, Mako can be either male or female and can have hair color, skin shade, not skin color, height, weight, hairstyle, body stance, facial features, and body features such as tattoos altered by the player, but must resemble Asian people from Japan. Ninja Gaiden has always had a more anime-inspired look, but to further engross the player mentally, it's better that the characters in the story resemble their regional counterparts if they are human. Kazunai, on the other hand, can be changed just a little more drastically. Not only gender and appearance, but tentacles, skin color, voice modification, height, weight, body stance, facial features, and body features with body paint instead of tattoos. Character creation is beloved because it gives the player more control over the experience and further engrosses them since they had a hand in the character itself. However, since I'm trying to tell a competent story about friendship and obsession, allowing the player too much control can serve to hurt the validity of the story, at least for the first playthrough. Tutorials and controls. Playing on a PS4 controller primarily because I have a PS3, square attacks are sweeping attacks that do considerably less damage, append shallow strikes, hit multiple targets, and protect the player from back attacks. The player is protected from being slashed at from behind as long as they are attacking with square, because enemies suddenly attacking and interrupting you as they do in most other Ninja Gaidens has never been and will never be enjoyable or even logical, since they should want to not potentially be hit with a swing. But enemies can attempt a strike or combo at the end of a player combo. Holding down the square button will allow the player to do a weapon-specific grab attack that will give a few milliseconds of invincibility frames in which the player cannot be damaged, but most enemies can dodge or outright counter attempted grabs from the front, and there's a slight charge time to every grab. When a player is grabbed, for the first second of the grab, the player can hold R1 and press square to activate a grab counter that will cancel the rest of the enemy's attack. Triangle attacks are power strikes that do considerably more damage, can break enemy guards, append deep strikes, and cause enemies to stagger, but will not protect the player from back attacks. Holding the triangle button down will allow the player to charge super attacks, or essence techniques, and holding it longer will allow them to do a weapon-specific UT, or ultimate technique, which are both special attacks that do tremendous damage and give invincibility frames in which the player cannot be harmed for a few seconds. The circle button acts as a quick access for any projectile secondary weapon equipped on the player character. In the beginning of the game, Mako uses a personalized recreation of the windmill shuriken, an arm-length bladed projectile which can append multiple strikes to one enemy and sever limbs easily. Although it can be perfectly blocked and sent back faster, and thus it must be dodged or blocked and then it will return safely. Kazunai, on the other hand, uses an organic acid spray which is projected from its mouth. The The spray fires in a short forward cone and incapacitates enemies hit with it, but does little damage and cannot sever limbs. Holding the circle button charges the wind shuriken to go faster and append more strikes with a higher chance of severing limbs, and at that point it is unblockable. While charging the acid spray, Kazunai moves slower, but when released it becomes an acid rain that attacks in a circle. The L1 button blocks, and blocking just as an enemy strikes causes a parry that opens them up for more strikes and may outright sever or break limbs depending on the weapon. Flicking the right stick in any direction will activate the reverse wind evade technique in that direction. Evading now interrupts other actions like attacking or being attacked while blocking. If any enemy attack connects, the only option to escape the combo is to perfectly block a strike, but the enemy will be given time to evade when this occurs. Players cannot evade out of enemy combos until the combo is blocked or it finishes. Evading into an enemy will knock them off their feet for a few milliseconds, but will do no damage. The X button allows the characters to jump, and holding the X button while moving toward a wall will allow the character to run up and along walls. If the character stops moving while doing so, they will fall directly down. Projectile attacks and sweeping slashes can be performed while wall running. Wall running does expend Ninpo. Clicking the R3 button will lock onto enemies. Pressing R1 will cycle through enemy lock-ons. Holding down R3 will deactivate the lock-on. When not locked on, the R1 button acts as a contextual button that has various uses depending on the situation. The camera will be operated by the player's position in a level. Each area will have one pre-positioned camera for each player to best help them navigate the area. The player can press in the touchpad to enter a third-person static mode where they can freely look around the area, but they must stand still. If enemies are outside the camera range at all, meaning any part of them, they will not attack the player character. For this reason, the vast amount of battles will take place in larger areas, with just one or two enemies attacking players in smaller areas. This gets rid of that frustrating and often unfair off-screen attacking enemies would do in other games. The Savior Technique. If the ally player character's health reaches 0, the other player must press and hold square to activate the Savior Technique. From Ninja Acolyte to Head Ninja difficulty modes, the players will have the ability to save their ally only once during each battle. A health item must be used. If the healing player has none, they can use one of the downed player's items. If both have none, the downed ally will die, resulting in a game over. Roach Fiends. While relatively small compared to most other fiends, these waist-high, dog-like insects attack in groups and simultaneously, with enlarged pincers at the top and bottom of their strange, emaciated bodies. They have a fairly simple attack style, charging and rolling, and they emit a clicking sound and raise their antenna before attacking. Unlike other enemies, rabid beasts like roach fiends have no sense of self-preservation and will attack the players continuously regardless of the players attacking or the number of roach fiends left, meaning they will not run from battle at any cost and will attack players while the players attack. To avoid getting damaged by a roach fiend's assault, players need only to counter, block, or use square attacks, sweeping attacks, that will deflect them. The Negra Roach. The Negra Roach is an enormous fiend. Armored along the top of its body, its enhanced carapace makes it almost impossible to damage normally. The Negra is an elongated beast that easily curls into a spike ball of death. Its weak underbelly, where its organs are easily exposed, is its weakness. It rolls around the arena, regularly stopping to birth more roaches and occasionally spray a wide-ranging sticky fluid that catches and burns the players. The players can free each other from the substance, but neither will have invincibility frames during the short animation and can be harmed. While not rolling, the monster walks forward and the arms along the bottom of its body slash and twitch to repel attackers. The roach fiends are present during the encounter and will only grow in number. The players must simultaneously cut down the roach fiends while evading the Negra Roach's attacks, which can easily squash the loyal roach fiends.
During the fight, one of the roaches will leap at Maku, and the game will slow down. The tutorial will allow each of the 2 players to do 2 steel on bones for free. 1 sweeping strike steel on bone with the square button. The second one a power strike steel on bone with the triangle button. And then the enemies will continue as usual, occasionally leaping at the players with a steel on bone grab that will knock them over and can only be countered with a grab counter or else evaded. The steel on bone technique is the key to this encounter and can be activated by dodging away or past an enemy when they begin to glow black and red. After that, pressing an attack button will cause the player character or both of them to target any enemy near them that is glowing, or just the enemy evaded, and pressing either attack button will cause a continuous steel on bone scene with a player character or both of them attack and instantly slay enemies in the area. Just 1 to begin with, but this ability can be leveled up to 4 enemies for each character. Pressing square causes sweeping steel on bone attacks that will hit other enemies in the area with a damaging slash, and pressing triangle will cause a powerful strike that sunders the enemy in front of you, but does not have much range to hit enemies surrounding you. The Negro Roach can be attacked normally, but it does completely insignificant damage, even when using power strikes, though they will be more effective. The most effective way to damage the fiend is by activating sweeping steel on bone attacks near the beast's legs, which will knock it over and reveal its weak underbelly for 2 seconds before it rocks back to its feet with a slam attack. The sweeping steel on bones must be performed on a roach fiend first. Once it's on its back, 1 player can press R1 near the Negra. This will activate a short animation where the player leaps onto the fiend and pierces through its body, cutting through its fluid gland and releasing the blood and sticky poison that may burn the players if they step in it. In this first encounter, the players need only to bring the beast's health down to half before the roaches begin to devour it. If they are unable to do this fast enough, the poisonous liquid could fill the entirety of the cavern floor in the area and will quickly burn away player health. The Dual Shields. The Dual Shields weapon is one concentrated for the Demon Tortoise style of fighting. The Dual Shields use the prowess of one's melee combat skills and the sturdiness of the shields, plus the weight and the force of the user's body to great effect for breaking blocks and forcing enemies into strategic positions. While locked onto an enemy, the player can hold down the R1 button and press triangle to activate the Stampeding Fortress special attack. Placing both shields firmly in front, the player character rushes forward and gains invincibility frames. If the player character connects with the enemy, they will send them flying, but the move has 3 seconds of vulnerable state after it is performed.